Hey everybody, it's Jo Hutchinson from the Consciousness channel here today, and I've got a wonderful guest that I know you're going to be super excited to hear some of her beautiful messages and some of the amazing work that she's doing. Her name is Sivani, and Sivani is based up in Canada, and she is the spiritual director and the head teacher of a beautiful ashram up there called Ishtadev. I think I've got the name right, Niwas.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Niwas. Yep, that's it.
Well, welcome. So tell us a little bit, what does that name actually mean?
Ishtadev. Ishtadev means your form of God. So your form of God may be Krishna. Somebody else's form of God may be Jesus. It doesn't matter, right? And Niwas means home. So I did not name it. I would not be that audacious. But the name Ishtadev Niwas means the home of the God that is closest to you.
Yeah. So in many ways, like coming home to yourself, the inner God, goddess. Yeah. Cool. Exactly. And one of the things that's really amazing about Sivani is that, unbeknown to me, she actually comes from New Zealand as well, but she lives in Canada. So
Kia ora.
Kia ora. You can speak our language.
Well, it's my language too. Yeah, I left in 2002.
Okay. And from there you went to Canada? That's your home now?
Yeah, I first moved to Toronto, then I moved to Vancouver, and then I moved to a very tiny little place called Tata Creek, which is on the Purcell Mountains in the Ktunaxa Nation area.
That sounds beautiful.
Overlooking the Rocky Mountains, overlooking the Columbia Valley.
Wow, that sounds really absolutely beautiful. Look, I imagine a bit of the landscape is a bit like some of the lovely landscapes we have in the South Island with all the mountains as well.
Yeah, well, my family lives in Blenheim.
Oh, awesome.
So
yeah.
When we come home, we come down to the Blenheim area.
Yeah, such a beautiful place, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that you're doing there is you've got that whole concept around what it is to live yoga, and I'm really fascinated in your perspective in this because I've done yoga for about 20 odd years as well, and there was always this concept about it's nice to come into the yoga room, be on your yoga mat, be away from all the stresses, and in many ways for me at the time it was a stress release and it was a sanctuary. But really the deeper teachings of yoga obviously go beyond being able to do a few stretches and a few poses. It's actually about how we embrace it into our everyday life. And so this question about how do we take yoga off the mat and out into the world is always one that sort of really resonated with me. And so on your website, when you're talking about learning to live yoga, I'm really curious to understand how you do that.
How do you do that? Well, in the way that the teachings have been passed down to my husband and I, who started this ashram, living yoga is about orientation. Okay, so in our Western world, we're very orientated around money and possessions and power over all of these old paradigms that are breaking away. Thanks, Uranus, and so living yoga is about having the courage to orientate your day-to-day life from a frequency perspective, because that's what yoga is. Yoga as in union, as in no longer living within separation from the divine, separation from your highest potential, separation from your soul self, your indigenous soul. So living yoga is about prioritizing that and allowing your reality to be birthed around that, instead of having your reality and trying to allow your spiritual life to come into it. So living yoga really is about orientation. And of course, it can be done anywhere.
Yeah.
You don't have to live in an ashram to live yoga. It's about the frequency of your food, the frequency of your words, the frequency of what's important to you, and allowing that to be your guide. And the practices of yoga is, of course, it's the science, it's the asana, the pranayama, the dharana, the dhyan, and those are calibration tools. They calibrate you out of the hold of karma and of impressions. And so living yoga is about prioritizing your calibration, your frequency, and orientating your world to that, which I believe is exactly what you're doing. You just may not call it living yoga,
No,
right? But that is what yoga is. It's what brings you closer to self.
Yes, it does. And so for me, I mean, my yoga practice, as I say, back in the day, it was a stress release from the corporate world and being a busy mum and doing about 1,001 things. So it was the sanctuary of this hour and a half away from the outer world to actually have some space for me. And then one day I realized that going to a yoga class once a week was not going to really cut the mustard. Going to a yoga class 2 or 3 times a week was a lot better, but actually it becomes a spiritual practice that you integrate into your day as a ritual. And so for me, what happened was I ended up literally, I'm an early riser, so I like being up early in the morning. So I just started to get up before everybody else was up, when everything is still, the energy is very still first thing in the morning. And that's how I started my day, was with this ritual of a yoga practice followed by meditation. And fast forward 22 years later, I'm still doing it. It's like, it's just so ingrained in me. So that's one part of it. But then, as you say, there's the teachings around, you know, how do we bring more love, more joy, more peace into our work, into our world, into our food, into the earth, all the applications of aligning our soul, our spirit with our physical being, and actually that union, as you say, bringing the two together. So
and what is our relationship to other?
Yes.
Right? Because when you're trying to live yoga, there is no other.
Yes.
And so then in helping yourself, you need to help all beings, whether they be plant or human. You know, you've got to be in service. And that is really when you start to have life force energy spare, you're no longer in survival, to be able to serve and think of like, oh, what is that person going through? What do they need? What do I have to offer? Then the cup overflows. And that is living yoga. Yeah, it's so important right now, right? There's just so much happening on the global stage and the local stage that people really need, you know, those opportunities to feel their cup filled and being able to help and serve others. It's, I think, a big shift that's going on right now. It's huge.
Now I'm really interested and curious about life in an ashram, because I've never been to one before. So can you tell us what would be a typical day like in the ashram? If I was to come next week, what would it be like?
What would it be like? It'd be very cold because it's winter here. But okay, so ashram means to work, means labor, and ashram, so means internal work. So when you come to an ashram, it is helpful with everybody has their eye on a single, what we would call a sankalpa, or an intention. And then we put our heartbeats and our life force energy towards that intention, whether it's peace, prosperity, and health for all, or creating a sattvic environment, a peaceful environment, or whatever that is. And then we get up in the morning, we have mantra, because mantra recalibrates the mind and allows the dross of sleep to shift. So mantra is very important here. And then we have breakfast, and then we start karma yoga. And karma yoga in the Western mind is so misunderstood, and so it's just it's a word I won't use, but it's so misunderstood, in that people think it's volunteering or it's working or it's helping, but it's none of those things. Karma yoga is a science. It is a very specific science on how to be consciously aware of the frequencies of the mantras and the paradigms that you've opened up through the morning practice, while being in your third dimensional actions, in whatever dynamics and whatever action or duty you're doing as part of a whole. So when you come to ashram, it's not your individual being. You learn actually how to come into a community and how to come into being part of a whole. So how do you honor your sovereignty and your effort and your precision and your heart and your love through your hands and through your actions, while having that unconditionally be offered as part of a whole? And it's I believe it's actually a foundational way that many people will start to live. They may call it something different. They may think that it's new. They may think that they've invented something, but this is thousands of years old as a right way of living. And it's not a power over structure. It is an empowered structure, but to be empowered, you have to have right relationship with ego. And that is what karma yoga does. It scrubs and purifies and realigns and brings into right relationship with the sense of I into the whole.
Yeah, it's a big thing, isn't it? Right relationship. Those two words have such incredible application and meaning. And they're not ones that I live by in my values, but they're ones I often come back to. It's like, when something's not right, it's the words that come back. What is the right relationship with whatever it might be? So that's really awesome. Now, when we were just chatting before, you were telling me that you've moved from having obviously the ashram in person, the physical experience, but you've also just developed something online. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, thank you, COVID. We got to find the blessing, people.
We do.
We weren't able to we have such a beautiful and wide ranged community that is connected with Niwas. But of course with COVID, we weren't able to have people for retreats. We weren't able to have the crowds that we usually do here. And it's become pretty apparent that public social media is fairly compromised with agendas that don't necessarily align with our values. And so an opportunity came for us to create a completely sovereign, insulated, no algorithms portal of this ashram being online, so it can be connected. We have people from New Zealand on there, and Canada and America and Bulgaria and Serbia, and it's so beautiful. But it's a place, and the tagline is, you come, fill your cup, don't waste your time, because none of us really want to be on screens anymore. But it's a place where you can come, and it is like ashram. There's a protocol, and there's a way we speak to each other, and there's a way that we interact with each other. But there's a page of movies and books. There's a page for ashram recipes of high vibrational food. Every morning I get up, I look at the astrology for the day, and I write a little love note. They call it the love note, where I write what is happening that day astrologically, and it just gets sent out to everybody, so that they can start their day with so Mars is doing this, frustration could be high. What practice can I do today to rebalance that? How can I take that? This energy is coming through. So doing something kinder for somebody today, would be a good way to balance that. So how can I do that? I'm going to the supermarket. Maybe I'll pay it forward for something, or, and these things are just sort of rippling out. And then I make a voicemail, a 2-minute voicemail that sort of just expands on that. And it allows people to, through my voice and through my handwriting, connect to the portal that is the ashram, and it helps us. It's like a spider web of gold, just these gold threads that are connecting everybody in a way that is very has integrity, and I'm really excited about it. And you can try it for free, and I think the link is on the blurb.
Yeah, so I'll put all the links below the videos so everybody can jump on that and check out your work and follow you. But I think it's really awesome, because I think there's many benefits from this COVID scenario that we've been through, and moving from the physical into the online world has just opened up so much more opportunity for people to be able to connect in these ways, than before. Because before we had to fly, we had to have the money, the time off work, or whatever it might be. Whereas now you can actually reach a much bigger and broader audience, just simply because of the virtual and connected world. So I love that. It's really awesome.
And we have this thing called Yoga Views, where every 2 weeks for the new moon and the full moon, I go through the astrology, link it to the yoga teachings, and then that's up on our YouTube. You get it first if you're in life, which is Living Yoga for Everyone online. And then it's available on YouTube as well, because we need to support each other. We need to be just offering as much solace as possible of you're not alone and you're not crazy, and we're all flying here in ways that we've never experienced before in this life. But this is why we came. This is why we're alive right now, is because we had the ability to do this. Yes,
this is our moment. And if we go back to the very beginning, it's about service. And so many people are awakening to, what is their next service? What is their next purpose that they are going to fulfill or offer others? And so, what you're doing there is, the vibration of the planet is such an important one as well, because as we raise our own vibration, raising our own consciousness, which is part of the reason I set this channel up, was that we need these teachings to help us actually navigate some of the challenges that we do find on everyday life. But the more that we raise our frequency into love, into service, into gratitude, into peace, we're lifting the vibration of the planet. And that's a really good thing. And that's going to benefit ultimately all life. Yeah. So I love your love notes. I love that. Love that idea.
My little love notes. And we have no electricity in my little house here by choice, not from haphazardness, by choice, because we like to live simply. So I have a little headlamp. And I write, and then I have to angle the headlamp to get my cell phone to take the photo. It's quite a display, my husband says. But so I write the little love notes and.
Yeah. So I think you're living off grid. Is that right?
We do. The ashram is fully off grid. We have some fiber animals. We have a milking cow that is for our family to use. The milking restrictions in Canada are incredibly strict. But we have Lakshmi, the milking cow, and we have some sheep and some goats and an alpaca and about an acre of vegetables and a wood-fired bakery that we bake for the community, and we bake for the shelters, and we bake for the people.
It sounds beautiful. I can smell the bread. Nothing like fresh croissants. That's right. Oh, that's awesome. So just to kind of wrap up, I know that you're just finishing or finalizing a book about the spiritual evolution of ashram life, and can you tell us a little bit about that and when it's coming out?
When it's coming out, I'm not exactly sure when it's coming out just yet. But it's a book that I've been working on for about 2 years. It's called Lion's Breath. And it's a subtle book. TV and literature these days, it's all like bang you over the head with, drama and violence and blah, 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 blah. I'm just not interested in populating our earth with those kind of vibrations anymore. So it's a story about a girl who ends up having to go and live in an ashram for a year, and it's about her journey through the elements and how the teachings give her the opportunity to embody it rather than intellectualize. And how that actually opens up. She goes from feeling very alone in the world and very isolated to realizing that the spirits or the devas of every being is constantly talking to us on a vibrational level, is constantly communicating with us, and everything is right here and here. And so, hopefully maybe next year. Good luck.
Awesome. That sounds awesome. I have a feeling a lot of people will be able to relate to that very easily. Even I can, just listening to your own story. It's awesome. Well, just to
I loved your video. I just wanted to say I loved your video with Mama Pahurakawa of the New Zealand Christmas tree. I almost cried. I showed my husband, and I'm like, this is home. Like, this is Aotearoa, and she's so beautiful, and I just love the way you spoke about her, and I just love the way that you're really bringing that into common consciousness, and I just think that's so needed more and more and more. That's beautiful. So thank you. It's really cool.
You're welcome. I find, I mean, I love that particular tree that we're talking about. If you guys want to see it, it's one of the videos up on YouTube that I just recorded this week on the 12th of the 12th. But yeah, when I'm out in nature, like you were just saying, everything is speaking to us. And so I kind of learned from the shamanic way. So lots of different ways to connect with nature and connect with the spirit and the element of things. And then when you start to slow down, I guess my journey was through meditation that really opened me up. So yoga was the doorway into meditation. I always thought yoga was for my, you know, more when I started in the very early days. Yeah, I thought it was about this much. That's right. But it really opened up the doorway into meditation. And once I mastered the art of meditation, that's when my spiritual growth really took off. And then as you continue to develop and grow that and become aware that in nature, everything is always speaking to you all the time. Everything has consciousness. And so you're able to then tune in and attune to the different, as you say, frequencies, the different energy levels. You will just commune. You will find there's another way of conversing beyond the human speaking. There's another way that we commune without using the voice in the human way, like as in speaking.
Exactly.
So yeah, I sat with the tree and she just had a lot to share. It was really beautiful because a few days before that there was some mums down at that tree and with their little ones, their little 2-year-olds roughly, and they were having a Christmas party. So they were all dressed up in Santas and red and green and climbing through the tree. And she was just on fire. You could feel her whole vibe. She's just welcoming, like with her big arms, she's welcoming all the kids in, all the mums in. She's a very special tree. So there's a lot of weddings celebrated under her. We've also got some other trees on the island. People have actually been knitting and decorating the trees, making wishing trees out of some of the other Pahurakawa trees here. So all things to sort of help raise the vibration, to celebrate peace on earth, to celebrate our connectedness, our interconnectedness.
Well, in our lineage of teaching, it has been said that the way of the future is living yoga and yoga ecology. And yoga ecology is this reorientation to our relationship with earth and with our relationship to nature. And so everything you're just speaking about, we would call yoga ecology. And that's what here we specialize in giving people a direct experience of. It's how you reorientate out of being somebody who takes and wants from the earth to a relationship of reciprocity of what do I have to offer and what can I freely receive, not take. And this relationship we would call yoga ecology. So it just makes my heart so happy to hear you speak.
Well, you know, I really agree with you on all of that. It's like I so understand and have that natural reverence and respect for nature, and especially with I'm not saying just with the trees because then everyone else will get upset, but one of the things, I'm surrounded by forest here, and so I do commune with the trees a lot on my walks. And one of the things that I like to do, which is a very easy practice to do, is to literally thank the tree, to share this breath with each other. Because as I breathe in, I'm breathing in the oxygen that the tree is sharing with me. And as I breathe out, I'm offering the carbon dioxide that the tree then converts into oxygen. And so it's that equal, balance of give and take, the reciprocity. So that's a very small thing anyone can do. But have you got like a, something that you could suggest for others, a little practice, an easy practice that they could easily implement when they're out in nature?
Well, similar to what you're saying, actually, it was one of the things that came through for this book was that the ones that remember their footsteps fall in thank yous, and that their whole frequency when walking amongst the trees is just such one of gratitude, of thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. That entrainment of the heart actually is heard by the tree, and then the tree can actually open up and the entrainment and the communication can happen. So even just muttering thank you, thank you, thank you as you're walking, even if it's just a few steps, will start to entrain your frequency to land. And when she feels heard, there's so much being offered. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be convoluted in a big ceremony. It's literally the frequency of your heart.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point too, because sometimes we think, we do complicate, we overcomplicate things, and yet the simplicity of it all is really coming back to the heart, being heart-centered, coming back to what I call heart consciousness, the love, the thank you, the gratitude. Lots of different ways to get into the heart, but as you say, simply being able to walk along through a forest, through your neighborhood, in a park, and just saying thank you with each step you take is really living yoga in life. You know, that is how you bring these beautiful teachings into mainstream. So just to finish up, if you had one message for everybody watching today, what would it be?
One message. It's now. It's not after the next payday. It's not after the Christmas holidays. It's not after, it's right now. The every action that we take to take responsibility and for our frequency and for our calibration, every single action right now is absolutely paramount to the next 6 months being one where we can surf waves rather than be pummeled with them, because as the alignments are coming through between now and sort of like April, and yes, of course it's beyond that, but I think between now and April is going to be absolutely paramount for the collective, and there's going to be a lot of people waking up, and you have to, I think we really have to say, okay, I'm not playing around. This is what we came for. So
yeah, this is what we came for. Be here now. Be here now.
Exactly.
Body, mind, soul. Be here now from the heart. Well, that is so awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fabulous talking to you. I know we could spend hours talking, so
maybe
we'll save that for another episode. But thank you so much for your time and joining us. And yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button then. I'll just stop recording. Thank you.
No worries.